Hi everyone, Carissa here. Welcome to my channel, Wild Inside Wellness. And this video is an introduction to tarot for beginners, people who have maybe never practiced or are just starting out on their tarot journey and really would just like a little more guidance, tips for how to get going and stay going and just things to be aware of as you're moving along. So these are my own personal opinions, which are also informed by the opinions of others, people that I've learned from, books that I've learned from. I think there occasionally are new things that come out in tarot and just that whole realm, but a lot of it you're going to be able to find similar information to what I'm putting out in other places. But I really hope that my perspective as someone who's been practicing tarot for over 15 years is helpful for you. So please come along and hopefully learn something new. Okay, so there's really very little that you need to just get going with your tarot journey. Primarily, you need a deck, of course. So a traditional tarot deck has 78 cards, although there are so many different decks out there. I really encourage you to take your time and look to see what appeals to you. And there are some decks that, people take, get inspiration or just take liberties, which is totally fine, I think, to introduce a new card. I have just one deck, which actually has 79 cards, and the author of that deck is very clear on explaining why they added that card, and I love it. It's a great addition to that deck. But traditionally, there are 78 cards in a deck, and you can find any manner of, maybe it's the art that speaks to you, maybe it's just things that you've heard about that deck and you think you would find it appealing. So take your time. I really encourage you to figure out what works for you as far as how the deck looks and how you respond to it. But also on that note, I come across this belief, and I really kind of held onto it a bit when I first started on my tarot journey, which is that you can only be gifted your tarot deck, that to buy one for yourself is somehow taboo. And I personally don't think that's true. I think it's really wonderful to be gifted a deck, and that there's perhaps a certain amount of, I don't know if power is the word in that, but magic to it. So if you are gifted a deck, that's wonderful. But you also can just go buy yourself your own. I've had 2 of mine gifted to me, and the others I just bought for my own attraction to them, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So however you come across your deck, that is the first thing you need to start your tarot practice. The second thing I really recommend is a book or several books even. Most of the tarot decks that you buy will come with a little tiny booklet, which I don't want to say I would discourage you from using that, because even just the little bit of information that's there can be helpful, but it's a really limited amount of information. So you really want to look into buying a more in-depth book, and some of those may come with your particular deck that you're purchasing or being gifted, and some may not, which I think is perfectly fine. As part of my own personal tarot practice, I have about 5 decks, which is kind of minimal for people who are really into tarot. However many you want is up to you. I do well with 5, and I have probably just a handful of books, 5 or 6 different books about tarot. And the way I like to keep learning and growing is to occasionally buy a new book or a new deck. Maybe I might be due soon. But I usually pick one deck to stick with for a few months. I personally, every solstice and equinox, renew my tarot practice by thanking one deck and putting it away for a while and letting it rest, and then bringing out a deck that I haven't used in a while and using that for 3 months till the next equinox or solstice. And then I also randomly pick a different book, although to be honest, that's not entirely true, because I've been using the same book when I do reference a book for about 1.5 years now, with occasionally wanting a different perspective or opinion and grabbing another book off the shelf. So sometimes having 2 books at the same time for a totally different deck that wasn't designed to go all together. And I think that's a really great way to learn, because tarot, what I love about it, that's different from oracle cards. I have a video on the difference between, what is a tarot deck and what is an oracle card deck. I'll put a link up above so you can check that out if there's any confusion. But tarot follows a very, pretty set formula for what falls in the deck, and how those different cards hold their meaning, which I really believe they have, depending on the context of many things, the meaning can differ, which I'm going to get into in more videos that I'm putting out soon. But basically, all tarot decks have the same general meaning, very general meaning, for the different cards. And so even though the imagery might be very different, the meaning, the root meaning, should still be intact, should still be somewhat the same. So you can use very, like a wide array of different books to help you understand the broader meaning of certain cards, the broader context of how they fit into certain spreads, and, interplay with other cards in a spread. So that's pretty much the 2 things you need to start, is a deck and a book, several decks, several books. And that all depends on really like what your goals are, which I would say is the third, not thing that you need to start a tarot practice, but thing that you need to be aware of. What are my goals for wanting to read tarot? Is it just for myself, for my own personal spiritual growth, self-education, self-understanding? Is it because I want to learn tarot fairly quickly so that I can do readings for the public, or even just readings for friends? So all of these, you can introduce different factors to help you reach your goal, more quickly if you want to get there in a more efficient time frame. But when I first started reading tarot, my goal was to just understand myself a little bit more and to gain more clarity on some things in my life that I found confusing or challenging. And I spent the first, I was going to say 10, but like 8 to 10 years of my tarot practice. I'm not sure exactly, but with just one deck, excuse me, but just with one deck, and one book for like 8 solid years. And that was good enough for me for where I was at and what my goals were. And then at a certain point, certainly before that 8-year mark, I started doing readings for friends, and sometimes using their decks, that we would just kind of have a tarot night and get together, and all kind of do readings for each other. And that kind of really got me curious about wanting to try different decks. And then at one point I was invited to do tarot readings in a public setting, for a market that a friend of mine was putting on. And it was a little like nerve-wracking to think of going from doing readings for myself and friends to public, to total strangers. And so that was kind of a big shift for me. That was about 4 years ago. And it was really exciting. It was challenging and, nerve-wracking, of course, but it really opened me up to wanting to learn more about tarot, which is when I started to acquire more decks and more books so that I could really broaden my knowledge and be really confident in what I was offering people. And that's kind of where I am now, is feeling very confident in my ability to read tarot cards for myself and for others, and to feel very confident that, not that I have the answers, but that I can hold space and offer a perspective that is helpful to people, that can help them find their own answers. And maybe in that space I can provide, something that they were looking for or needed. And I think that's a really great place to be with a tarot practice. I don't really feel that I need more than that. I've never taken tarot, like a set tarot course. Actually, no, that's not true. I have. I didn't finish it though, because I didn't find it all that helpful. It was an online course that was relatively inexpensive, so I did it. And I just found that I had better luck just kind of sticking with my books and my continuous practice, which kind of brings us to another element of what you need to develop your tarot practice is practice. Setting the time aside to develop a skill. And again, that comes back to your goal. How quickly do you want to learn? When I first started, I would, over, those first 8 years, fluctuate from doing it sometimes every day, which in those early years, it was a bit more, I was coming from a bit more of an obsessive place, which I don't think is the healthiest or best way to approach your cards. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I still learned a lot, but maybe didn't gain the clarity that I was hoping to find in doing that. So yeah, and then so doing it every day to just, once a week, sometimes every other week, sometimes moving away from it for, 3 weeks to a month or so, but, at least once a month coming back to my deck. And the space that I'm currently in is coming out of a 1.5-year stretch of reading my cards for myself personally every single day, which was it was my pandemic practice, I'll call it. It was really supportive in helping me navigate big feelings, big emotions, big shifts in the world, and helping me come back to myself and feel really grounded. And not that I don't need that now, but I think, even for myself, like every single day, most days, for a 1.5 years is a lot. So find something that works for you, that you can stick to, that feels good. I would say at least once a week, sitting down with your deck, doing a spread for yourself. I'm also going to do more videos on different spreads. I'll share the spread that I do every day. And, bigger spreads that are better for, maybe bigger occasions like birthdays and New Year's, or like quarterly events. But find a time frame that works for you, that you can just sit down and set aside the time for your own learning, for what you want to apply yourself to. So it doesn't really take much, just a deck, a book, knowing your goals, setting aside the time to practice and learn. And other than that, there are other tools that you can incorporate into learning more and better, but they're kind of extras. Like, it doesn't take much more than that. Things like this, like YouTube videos, are very helpful, and maybe could even actually be used in place of books. I say that a little hesitantly, mostly just because I'm a very book-oriented person. I like something tangible in my hands, just like the cards. It's very, I don't know, just shifts the experience enough. But if books are an expense that you can't afford, but you have internet access, there are plenty of YouTube videos that can help you understand the meaning of different cards, and a lot of different opinions, which I think is great. The more perspectives and opinions you can be aware of, the more you have, I believe, support in forming your own opinions and really distilling what cards have meaning for you and in what particular ways. So free videos are wonderful. There are also tarot courses that you can pay for. But like I said, the one time I did that, I didn't find it very helpful. but that's not to say that will be your experience. I know there are some good tarot practitioners out there who probably put out some great courses. And if you want a more structured step-by-step process, that's probably a great way to go. I myself am going to be putting out a series of tarot videos, which are, I mean, this whole process already exists. People have already done it, but I just love tarot and want to share my perspective. So I'm going to be putting out videos, explaining some of the major themes of a tarot deck and some good ways to learn that, I have used in my own learning that might be helpful for you. So please stick around and check them out over the next few months. I'll be putting them out. And if this video was helpful for you, let me know. I love to hear from you guys. And if you have any lingering questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. I do my best to get back to any questions that people leave, but sometimes they do slip through the cracks. So if that happens, I'm sorry, but I will do my best to answer any questions. And that's really it. All that's left is to say good luck. I wish you the best on your tarot journey. It is a wonderful, beautiful journey of self-discovery, of broadening your perspective and your understanding, not just of yourself, but of the world and how you move through it. And I think it's a very meaningful and worthwhile journey. So again, good luck, and I will see you soon.